There's another question over this. Yes?
How many years have you been a professor?
I have been a professor at YSU. I'm starting my 20th year. But before that, I was a graduate student, so I was teaching at colleges and universities starting when I was just 21, so a very long time. Yes?
I'm just curious as to what we described part of like this working class is. What's the goal of it? Is it to further working class? Is it just to make working class maybe not like in terms of financially stuff, but more making that working class a dirty word anymore? Like what is the goal of this study?
It's a good question. I would say that a lot of it is to make the working class visible as a starting place, to make sure that we can't have conversations in American culture where we pretend that there is no working class. That's the first goal. But we think that that's important because if the working class is visible, then we're much more likely to have policies and social structures and practices that will improve the quality of life of the working class. Now, it's important to say that within this field, there is a pretty significant contingent of people who would argue that what we really ought to be doing is trying to abolish capitalism so that those class divisions are simply not as powerful as they once were. I don't think anybody thinks that we're ever going to be able to not have, somebody cleaning the toilet, but that we might be able to make a system where there isn't so much inequality between the person who cleans the toilet and the person who designs them and the person who runs the company that makes them. And there are lively debates within the field over should we focus on things that we think will improve the quality of life of working class people in the world we live in, or should we focus on trying to challenge the existing structures to change the world we live in? And for most of us, the answer is yes, we should do both. So that's our ultimate goal. But we start really with just saying, we need to let people know that the working class exists and that there are valuable and important things to talk about. The working class really isn't just a dirty word. That it isn't, as one of our students said to us, working class is what I came to college to get out of. And I understand that, but then there's that other part of me that says, what I really would like is for you to come out of college understanding and appreciating that, even though you're going to be a straddler. You're going to end up very likely on that borderland. But I want you to understand that and appreciate it. So it's a long answer to a pretty simple question. Multiple. What else? Yes?
Do you see a lot of concern in the field about what people major in?
Some. There is, I think if you asked most people in working class studies, they would be a little nervous about the fact that business is the largest major in most colleges and universities. Not because we're anti-business, though. Many of us are a little suspicious of big business. But because of the sort of instrumentalist approach to education, so much of higher education these days is about prepare for a job. Go to college, pick a major where you're going to get a clear job and follow that path. And because we're academics, we like the idea of education to make you a more intelligent, well-rounded person who is better able to do lifelong learning. So there's that kind of stuff. But I think we're more interested in trying to make sure that whatever major you go into, you get the opportunity to think about these issues. So we're sort of working across. Is there something more behind your question? Is there something you're thinking about?
Especially considering, from my working class background, who lives at for the kind of money, especially that they have to spend to go to college today, they sure enough better get something.
That's
out
right.
of it.
You better get a job.
They would be deadly serious about what were the job prospects
Exactly.
that you would have on this major.
That's right. And we are seeing a lot of people, I talk regularly to students who say, I really love English. Most of the courses I teach are in the English department or in the American Studies program. I really love this stuff, but I can't major in it because I can't guarantee that I'm going to get a job in it. So I'm going to finish my accounting major, even though I really hate it, but I know I'm going to be able to get a job. And I point out to them the data that we that I think is pretty widely known at this point, which is that most people who are graduating college now will go through something like 5 to 7 different careers. Not different jobs, but entirely different careers. So, yeah, prepare yourself for a job, but understand that that's not unlikely to be your last job. So, yeah, but there is a lot of pressure, and it's part of that internal tension that I think a lot of working class students feel, regardless of the type of institution, probably more so if it's a more expensive institution and you're paying more for it, to get something concrete out of it. Absolutely. Yeah, go ahead. Go to people who haven't asked questions first. Yes. You.
Okay, sorry, point right there.
No, because she already asked a question.
Gotcha.
Sorry.
Mine will be quick.
Okay.
I was just wondering what you thought about like working class moving forward, especially because, well, obviously, like you were saying, if you grew up in Youngstown, you grow up, go to factory, that's gone. And then also, with the current economic climate, people falling out of the middle class. I mean, and
Yes.
they don't exactly identify with a lot of how the working class, but how technically managers and whatnot,
Yeah.
whether they like it, they're kind of different. So how you see that kind of changing over the course of
I think we are at a crucial moment in American history, not entirely unlike we were in the 1930s, which was the last time we had this big a recession, and the last time we had a very visible working class movement in this country, really. I mean, the labor movement that made the prosperity for a lot of industrial workers in the 1950s really had its roots in the 1930s. I think we may be in another one of those moments. In part because, as you say, a lot of people who have been comfortably middle class are suddenly finding themselves economically vulnerable and are gaining a sense of, if not identification, then at least sympathy with where working class people have been all along. We are also facing a major change in the kinds of work that is available to working class people, so that increasingly, over the next 30 years, working class people will also be people who are living in poverty. And that combination has at least some potential for social activism, for people to say, you know, wait a minute, this is not fair. The trends that